let's talk about managing source code in an agile world. We're going to break down a really practical model designed to do one thing. Take the kind of development chaos you might be used to and turn it into a clear, repeatable, and streamlined process.
All right, let me ask you something, and be honest. Does this feel familiar? That end of sprint crunch, that mad dash to merge everything, where you're basically just crossing your fingers and hoping the whole thing doesn't explode?
If that hits a little too close to home, you are definitely not alone. This right here is what we call integration hell. You've got all these features supposedly in progress, but when everyone slams that merge button at the same time, it's just a massive bottleneck. And honestly, it's a perfect recipe for stress, last-minute bugs, and completely blowing your deadlines.
So, how do we fix this? Well, before we get into the nitty-gritty of Git commands and branch names, we've got to understand the why. What's the philosophy that makes this whole thing work? It's all built on just a couple of simple but really powerful principles.
Okay, so the entire philosophy really boils down to two key ideas. First, you've got integrate early, fail fast. I mean, it's common sense, right? Find and fix problems while they're small and manageable. Don't wait for a total disaster. And second, every single iteration, every single sprint needs to produce something that could actually be shipped. It's about creating releasable work, consistently.
You know, this quote from Henrik Nyberg really just nails that first principle. It's better to fix small problems often than fix large problems seldom. It's so true. Waiting till the end of the sprint to merge everything is like seeing a tiny crack in a dam and just ignoring it. You want to patch those little things constantly before the whole thing bursts.
Okay, so that's the why. Now for the how. And believe it or not, the entire foundation of this model rests on just two main branches. And to make it super easy to remember what they do, we're going to use an analogy: the museum and the workshop.
First up, you've got your main branch. Think of this as the museum. It's beautiful, it's pristine, and it only contains the finished, polished, ready-to-go exhibits. This is your absolute source of truth for what's live in production. It's got to be stable, reliable, and ready to deploy at a moment's notice.
And just like a real museum, you can't just walk in and start messing with the exhibits, right? There are strict rules. The code on main has to be releasable. Always. The build has to be green. And you definitely can't just commit directly to it. Nope. Any changes have to go through a formal pull request. Think of it as a formal proposal that needs to be reviewed and approved before it's allowed in.
Okay, so if main is the quiet, perfect museum, then develop is the workshop. This is where the action happens. It's noisy, it's busy. It's where all the nearly finished pieces from all the different teams come together to be integrated for the very first time. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not total chaos in the workshop. There are rules. Everything coming onto this assembly line has to be functionally complete with all its tests passing. And if something does break the build, if that red light goes off, the rule is simple. Everybody stops. The entire assembly line halts until that problem is fixed, immediately.
All right, so we've got our museum, main, and our workshop, develop. Let's put it all together and see what a normal day looks like. How does a single task go from an idea to being fully integrated? So it all kicks off right here on the team's Kanban board. A developer is ready for a new task, they grab it, and they slide that card right into the doing column. And the second that card moves, bam, a new feature branch gets created right off of develop. The rule couldn't be simpler. Work starts on a ticket, a branch gets created just for that ticket. This gives the developer a totally safe, isolated space to do their work.
Okay, that's one developer. But what about a whole organization? What happens when you've got multiple teams? Let's say you've got Team A and Team B, and they're both working on totally different features for the same product, all at the same time.
How do they not constantly step on each other's toes? Easy. Their work lives on completely separate, isolated feature branches. Team A literally can't break Team B's code, and Team B can't break Team A's. All that messy, in-progress work is kept safely apart.
But wait a minute. If everyone's off in their own little bubble, how do you stop the code from drifting so far apart that merging becomes a nightmare? Well, this is the golden rule. You have to stay synchronized. Think of develop as the big main river. Your feature branch is a smaller stream that splits off. To avoid getting lost, you have to constantly pull fresh water from the main river into your stream, at least once a day. And then the second your work is done, you merge your stream right back into that main river, adding to the flow. Okay, this all sounds great for planned work, but we all know that's not the whole story, right? What happens when things go wrong? Let's talk about emergencies, the dreaded production hotfix.
So picture this. The pager goes off. Production is down. You need to push a fix, like right now. But there's a huge problem.
Your develop branch is filled with all this new, unfinished stuff from the current sprint. You absolutely cannot release develop to production. So what do?
All right, here's the process, and it's actually incredibly clean and safe. You don't touch develop, you leave it alone. Instead, you go back to your pristine museum, the main branch. Specifically, you find the exact tag or version that's currently in production. From that safe point, you create a new hot fix branch. You make your fix there, merge it directly back into main, and you deploy the patch. But you're not done, and this part is absolutely critical. You then take that same fix and merge it back into develop so that everyone's work gets updated. Then you can just delete that temporary hotfix branch. Job done.
What this does is completely isolate the emergency. It lets you safely patch production without blowing up the current sprint. And just as importantly, it guarantees that the fix gets applied to both your stable main branch and your active develop branch. No one gets left behind.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. The principles, the branches, the daily workflow, even emergencies. Let's pull all of this together into something you can take back to your team and use tomorrow, a complete working agreement.
Think of this as your team's playbook. It's a set of agreements that make the whole system work. You agree on policies for each branch. You agree on a definition of done. You agree to sync your code every single day by merging from develop, and you agree to merge your finished work to develop the second it's done. It's about creating a rhythm, a continuous cycle that everyone understands and follows. That's the key.
And this is what it looks like altogether. The big picture of an entire 10-day sprint. You can see feature branches constantly pulling from develop to stay fresh. You see completed features merging back in as soon as they're ready. And at the very end, you see that fully baked, integrated code from develop getting promoted to main for the release. See? It's a smooth, continuous flow. It's not that last-minute panicked scramble we started with.
So I'll leave you with this question to take back to your team. After seeing all this, what's the one single rule you could all agree on right now to start moving away from the chaos and toward clarity?